Before commissioning the Conquest water heater, it is important to ensure the installation is complete and that all connections are made to the water heater in accordance with the guidelines and requirements detailed in the installation and maintenance manual supplied with the product. These necessary connections are the cold water inlet, the hot water outlet, the tank drain, the vent connection, the gas inlet, the condensate drain, the combustion air inlet, and the electrical wiring to the control panel. Also ensure that the temperature and pressure relief valve is properly piped to a floor drain in accordance with local codes and with no valves or restrictions in the piping. The installation must be complete prior to performing initial startup, and the startup must be complete prior to placing the water heater into service. Starting the water heater without proper piping, combustion air, venting, or electrical systems can be dangerous and may void the product warranty. The tools required for startup of the water heater are a 6-foot step ladder, stacked draft gauge, electronic combustion analyzer, 2 U-tube manometers or gas pressure gauges, an AC/DC multimeter with 20,000 ohm per volt rating, and normal hand tools, including a 3/16 inch and 7/32 inch Allen wrench. If you don't have or don't know how to properly use these tools, do not attempt to start this water heater. Refer startup to a qualified technician. We will now review the startup process with step-by-step instructions. These instructions should be followed in exact order to achieve safe and efficient operation to assure trouble-free service life. Detailed startup instructions are included in the Conquest installation and maintenance manual. The first step in the startup and commissioning process is to locate the electrical service panel for the equipment and to identify the circuit breaker dedicated to the water heater. The circuit breaker must be in the off position. Do not provide electrical power to the water heater until you have verified leak-free service at the water and gas connections. In order to gain access to the gas train components, the top pan of the water heater will have to be removed. It is held in place with screws that are removed from the top of the heater. On the water heater's control panel cover, move the electrical rocker switch to the off or down position. Remove the panel screws to open the hinged bottom control enclosure cover to expose the main terminal strip. Before continuing, confirm that power is not connected to the water heater. Use a multimeter to check across terminals L1 and L2. The 120-volt power connection is made to terminals L1 hot and L2 neutral. The operating control on the water heater is polarity sensitive, so you must ensure that the power is wired correctly to terminals L1 and L2. Also verify that the ground wire is secured to the grounding lug. After confirming the heater is not powered, visually and physically check that all electrical connections are tight by lightly pulling on the wires. Retighten any loosened connections that may have occurred during shipment. On the terminal strip, check to see if terminals R1 and R2 are jumpered. If they are, nothing more needs to be done. If the terminals are not jumpered but have wires connected to them, this indicates that a remote on-off relay is controlling the water heater from the building automation system. When first starting up the water heater, the heater must be isolated from any remote controlling device. These wires must be removed and the terminals must be jumpered. Remember to reconnect the remote wires after startup is complete. Close and secure the lower control enclosure cover with the panel screws. This must be done before opening the upper control enclosure cover. While doing this, check to see if the control circuit fuse is installed on the face of the control panel. If not, the fuse is located on the inside of the upper cover in a plastic bag taped to the inside of the panel. Install the fuse. With the panel open, once again visually and physically check for loose wires and look for any obvious damage to electrical components. Check to see if a network type BAS connection is made to the water heater. This is done by looking at the back of the TempTrack operating control to see if an RS-485 cable is plugged in. If so, remove the plug until startup of the water heater is complete. This cable will have to be reconnected after startup. Close and secure the electrical box. The circuit breaker should remain in the off position until later in the startup process. Prior to startup of the burner, the tank must be filled with water. Begin by fully closing the drain valve. Open the shutoff valve on the hot water outlet pipe from the water heater. Open a nearby hot water faucet to allow the air to escape when filling the storage tank. Start filling the tank by fully opening the isolation valve on the cold water inlet piping. A steady flow from the nearby hot water faucet indicates that the tank is full. Shut off the faucet. After filling the tank, check all tank connections to ensure they are watertight and tighten any as necessary, as leaks at the tank fittings will damage the insulation. The next step is to confirm that adequate gas pressure is supplied to the water heater. For ease of viewing, we will demonstrate these procedures on bench models of the gas trains, as well as on the heater itself. Begin by closing the manual gas shutoff valve at the beginning of the gas train, upstream of the gas train components. Attach a manometer tube to the test port on the manual shutoff valve. The gas pressure at the shutoff valve must be a maximum of 10.5 inches water column. If the supply gas pressure is outside of the allowed range, notify the building maintenance personnel or installer to reduce the gas pressure to the water heater. With the gas pressure properly set, open the main gas supply valve and check the gas train for leaks. Using an appropriate bubble detection solution, thoroughly coat all gas train pipe connections. If any bubbles are detected, close the gas valve and tighten the connection. Then reopen the gas valve and recheck to ensure there are no leaks. Natural gas is now supplied to the unit. Before attempting to start the water heater, the flame safeguard circuit must be verified. This is done by attempting to start the water heater with no gas flow, which should cause the water heater to fail to light and to then lock out. Begin by returning the electrical service panel circuit breaker to the on position. Close any electrical service switch if installed. The water heater now has electrical service and is ready to start up. Leave the water heater rocker power switch in the off position. Begin by closing the main gas shutoff valve. Turn the water heater on using the electrical rocker power switch on the front of the control enclosure. The display on the TempTrack electronic operating control and the on-off switch should both illuminate. The water heater control will sense the low water temperature in the tank and begin a trial for burner ignition. The start for a call for heat will be indicated on the TempTrack operating control by illumination of the flame icon. The call for heat light on the control panel will illuminate shortly after the trial for ignition begins. The burner should fail to ignite due to no gas supply, and the burner will retry for ignition 2 more times before locking out. The 3 tries for ignition prior to lockout will take about 5 to 7 minutes. Lockout is confirmed by an AL2 alarm indication on the TempTrack operating control. To reset the unit, cycle the main power switch. If the water heater is not reset within 3 minutes, the TempTrack operating control will emit an audible flame failure alarm. Press any button on the TempTrack control to silence the alarm. If during the test the call for heat panel light does not illuminate, this indicates another safety device may be tripped, which is interrupting the cycle. These devices include the low water cutoff, high temperature limit, or gas pressure switches if equipped. Check the troubleshooting section of the maintenance manual for corrective action. Burner combustion must only be adjusted using a combustion analyzer. Do not attempt to adjust the burner by sight or sound. Do not attempt to adjust combustion based upon manifold pressure alone. Manifold pressure should only be used as a reference point. To adjust combustion, begin by moving the rocker switch to the off position. Drill a small hole in the vent approximately 2 feet from the appliance vent connection. Insert the combustion analyzer probe into the hole. The Conquest water heater is manufactured with 2 types of burner systems. The 399,000 BTU input units have an on-off control system with a combination regulator and gas valve. Heaters with inputs of 500,000 BTU and above use a modulating control system with a larger regulator and separate gas safety shutoff valves. We will address both burner systems separately. Identify your burner control system prior to making any adjustments. The BTU input of the water heater is indicated on the main heater decal. If the BTU input of the water heater is less than 399,000 BTU, this startup video does not apply. You must refer to the startup instruction video for Conquest water heaters with inputs between 199,000 and 300,000 BTU. To set up combustion on a 399,000 BTU on-off unit, begin by opening the main gas valve at the water heater. Move the rocker switch to the on position. This will initiate a trial for ignition. When the burner ignites, the burner on panel light will illuminate. With the burner firing, measure the flow gas pressure at the beginning of the gas train. If flow gas pressure is equal to or greater than 3.5 inches water column, continue with the startup. If the flow gas pressure is less than 3.5 inches, contact PVI immediately for instructions on how to correct the situation. Carbon dioxide level must be between 8.5% and 9.5% for natural gas, and between 9.5% and 10.5% for LP gas. If the level is in this range, no adjustment is required or recommended. If the level must be adjusted, this is done by turning the slotted brass start gas setting screw on the gas valve. Turn the screw clockwise to decrease gas flow and decrease CO2. Turn the screw counterclockwise to increase gas flow and increase CO2. For water heaters 500,000 BTU input and higher with a modulating burner, combustion must be optimized during startup at both low and high fire. Doing this requires that the TempTrack operating control be placed in manual modulation mode. To begin, open the main gas valve and move the rocker power switch to the on position. On the TempTrack control, press and hold the EXT key for about 3 seconds until PS4 appears in the upper display and 3 dashes appear in the lower display. PS4 is the manual modulation parameter. This cannot be adjusted until a password is entered into the control. Release the EXT key. Insert the password 321 in the lower display. To do this, press the up arrow key 3 times. When the number 3 appears, press the set key. Press the up arrow key twice. When the number 2 appears, press the set key. Press the up arrow key once. When the number 1 appears, press the set key. Now that the password is set, the value for PS4 parameter will appear in the lower display. This parameter should read the factory default of NU, or not used, which means the water heater is set to operate in automatic modulation mode. To manually adjust modulation to low fire, push the set key. When the value starts flashing, press the down arrow key until the parameter reads 0 for low fire. Press the set key once more to lock the control into low fire. At low fire, the carbon dioxide level must be between 8.5% and 9.5% for natural gas, and between 9.5% and 10.5% for LP gas. If the level is in this range, no adjustment is required or recommended. If the CO2 level must be adjusted, the low fire adjustment is made at the gas regulator. With the burner firing, adjust the regulator screw clockwise to increase gas flow and increase CO2. Adjust the regulator screw counterclockwise to decrease gas flow and decrease CO2. Once the desired combustion is achieved at low fire, manually adjust the temp track control to high fire. Do this by pressing and releasing the set key. Press the up arrow key until the parameter reads 100. Once again, press the set key to lock the water heater into high fire. When adjusting combustion in high fire, it may be necessary to open a hot water outlet to provide flow through the water heater to prevent or delay the water heater from reaching operating set point and ending a burner cycle. With the burner firing, measure the flow gas pressure at the beginning of the gas train. If flow gas pressure is equal to or greater than 3.5 inches water column, continue with the startup. If the flow gas pressure is less than 3.5 inches, contact PVI immediately for instructions on how to correct the situation. The high fire CO2 adjustment is made on the gas valve. At high fire, carbon dioxide level must be between 8.5% and 9.5% for natural gas and between 9.5% and 10.5% for LP gas. If the level is in this range, no adjustment is required or recommended. If the CO2 level must be adjusted, the high fire CO2 adjustment is made on the gas valve. First, loosen the set screw on the side of the valve body. Adjust the valve orifice clockwise to reduce gas flow and counterclockwise to increase gas flow. When CO2 is in the proper range, tighten the set screw to lock the gas valve adjustment. Reset the modulation rate to low fire and confirm CO2 settings are still in the proper range. If needed, adjust CO2 by turning the regulator screw. If at any point of the modulation range carbon monoxide is in excess of 200 parts per million, contact PVI Industries customer service for assistance. Return the temp track control PS4 modulation parameter value to NU for automatic operation. This is done by first pressing and releasing the set key. Then press the up arrow key to begin scrolling through the numbers. Scroll past 100 and the letters NU will appear. Then press the set key again to lock the setting. In about 30 seconds, the readouts on the temp track control will begin to indicate temperature. This step is very important as it enables the water heater to operate in full modulating mode. With combustion setup complete, there are only a few remaining items to check before startup is done. Using the same vent opening that was used for combustion adjustment, measure the vent pressure. When the water heater is at high fire, confirm the vent pressure does not exceed 1/2 inch water column. Pressure in excess of 1/2 inch indicates a venting sizing issue that must be addressed by the installer before operating the water heater. Check to confirm the condensate trap is rotated to its lowest position as shown in the installation and maintenance manual. The startup report furnished with this water heater must be completed and sent to the manufacturer to register the installation address and the start date of the product warranty. The information on the startup report is required. All voltages, fuel, pressure, temperature, and combustion parameters must conform to the manufacturer's specifications. Failure to ensure and document that the equipment is operating in a safe and reliable manner may cause property damage, personal injury, or death. For additional product information and assistance, please visit our website at www.pvi.com or contact PVI Technical Support at 1-800-433-5654.